Good morning, my phenomenal things. Welcome back to the cavern. So we're kind of doing a throwback to our olden days, or younger days. Younger days. Do you remember some of the movies from your childhood that weren't supposed to be scary, but scared the living daylights out of you? Well, there's a few that had me, and even some horror films that were geared towards children that gave me horrible nightmares growing up. So we're going to revisit those. I'm going to start with the non-horror films and make my way to the horror movies. The ones that are supposed to be scary for kids. Most of these are from the 90s, since that's when I was growing up. I was born in 88, so most of the movies and music that I remember was the 90s. I was a strange kid, so some movies that you would have thought would give me nightmares didn't. My aunt and uncle, for instance, fronted Harry and the Hendersons, and it terrified me. So bad, in fact, that my parents had to come and pick me up. I only saw the beginning portion where the father hits Harry, the Sasquatch. I freaked out seeing it, was still alive, and on the roof. I think that's all that I remember. I don't honestly remember that movie. I have not even watched it since that. Probably surprising or weird, but the other movie is Return to Oz, which I've learned scared a lot of people in their childhoods. The scene that got me, though, was the queen with the removable heads. Nothing else really scared me as much as her. Although a lot of people said the Wheelers, and the Wheelers surprisingly didn't freak me out. I don't know why, but it was just her. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, that was pretty scary for me. The evil queen turning into the crone was the most terrifying part. Probably because now she could look like anyone, and that's probably where that stemmed from. No one ever thought those would scare me, especially when Labyrinth was my favorite film at the age of 5. I'm still shocked to learn people were terrified of the goblins in it. I thought they were adorable. I don't know. Like I said, I was a weird kid. I was a weird kid. Moving on to child-friendly horror movies that scarred me growing up. Ghostbusters 2. The guy in the painting was creepy as fuck. Or is that just me? Not to mention his assistant. Never realized it was actually the assistant that kidnaps the baby. When I first saw it when I was a kid, I thought it was an old lady. But that really freaked me out growing up. I thought somebody would come and get me in the middle of the night. Even though I wasn't a baby, it didn't matter. Ghostbusters 2, though, is my absolute favorite movie out of the two. I think it was much better than the first one. That's just me. Don't Look Under the Bed. You may or may not know or have heard of this movie. It was a Disney Channel original about what happens to imaginary friends when they are forgotten. In one particular scene, the heads of the stuffed animals turn, and at another point, an imaginary friend goes through some terrifying transformations. And yeah, that actually gave me nightmares when I was a kid. Ernest Scared Stupid also scared me, I'll admit. The trolls were creepy. One is behind me. Especially when you add in the fact that they turn people into little figurines. My family was shocked by that scaring me. Because at that age, I was obsessed with The Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, that never scared me. Double Double Toil and Trouble was the first and last Olsen twin movie that I saw as a kid. Scared the hell out of me. I don't honestly remember the movie. I just know it had to do with mirrors and people getting trapped within them. Yeah, probably not a good one for me. I also watched a few horror films as a child that I probably shouldn't have. Poltergeist, It, the miniseries, The Exorcist, and Tremors were the first horror movies that I saw, that I remember anyways. I saw them around 8 or 9. However, I always enjoyed getting scared when I was growing up. I loved Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark, along with So Weird. Those probably got me hooked on horror, and it just grew as I got older. I will say The Exorcist, It, and Poltergeist gave me nightmares the most. Tremors, I thought was funny. Predator, I actually saw when I was 8, It was the first rated R movie I ever got to see. My dad actually let me watch that one with him. Later, I was allowed to watch Alien, and I fell in love with both of them. They actually didn't scare me. My dad was surprised that Alien didn't give me nightmares. He thought it might, but he rolled the dice. Uh, Child's Play I watched when I was like 10 or 11. It revolved, and I forget why I watched it, actually. I never found that scary, though. Candyman, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Scream, I saw those around the same time. I don't know which one came first, to be honest. Scream actually scared me the most. I was actually so afraid of break-ins when I was a kid. And I think that was around the incident that happened when I was 11. I think that's why that scared me so bad. So it was summertime. I was home alone. My parents figured I was old enough to take care of myself. I didn't need a babysitter anymore, and they worked full time. So I was home alone. And some older gentleman in a white van showed up. He knocked on the door, saw me, and refused to leave. Back then, we didn't have cell phones. No surprise. So I had to actually go get the phone, which was in the kitchen, usually. Well, he followed me outside of the house. I could actually see him through the windows following me, which really freaked me out. He didn't actually leave until he saw the phone in my hand. That's when he took off. I never got a license plate, and there was nothing on the van that told me he was for a company or anything. Freaked me out and scared my parents. I actually went to work with my mother for a few days after that until we got a dog. And that was the first time I actually had a dog. I never had one before, and he was my best friend. I actually spent every day with me. And ripped up my stuffed animals. Because he broke into my bedroom when I wasn't home. Because I was at school. Yeah, he actually knew how to open doors. He was like a raptor. What are some horror films you remember from your childhood that scared you, or even non-horror movies that freaked you out? What was the first horror movie you've ever seen? And how old were you when you first were introduced to the genre? Let me know in the comments below. I'm curious if you had a similar childhood to mine, being introduced to horror movies at a young age. Hope you liked my list. Let me know if any of them freaked you out as a kid, or if different ones scared you growing up. Later tonight, I'll be reviewing Megan. Tuesday, I'll be returning to WoW. Probably not surprising to any of you. Might solo a couple of raids. I've been trying to get a few mounts to drop. Dragon Soul, I've actually run over 100 times and I haven't been able to get the damn Blazing Drake to drop. It's been driving me freaking crazy because I want the Emerald Drake, and the only way to have that is to have all these drakes, and one of them being the Blazing Drake, which is an ugly fucking dragon. I don't like it. It's so freaking hideous. But I want the Emerald Drake, so I've been trying to get it to drop, and it's been frustrating. If you have any tips on maybe what got you the Blazing Drake to drop, let me know in the comments. I've heard some people say that running the raid on 10-man actually gave them better results than running it on heroic 25-man. So, I don't know, maybe I'll try it, see if it drops. I got the other stuff to drop except for the Handmaiden's Drake or something like that. I haven't gotten that one either to drop. I got the Experiment one. That one's actually really cool looking, by the way. Well, have a fabulous weekend. If I don't see you tonight, take care until next time. Bye, everyone.